Now, one of our biggest achievements at AData has been this focus on geospatial data. So our ability to actually locate where development interventions are happening around the world. So here is a map of about 200,000 locations of development projects in the last 2 decades, worth over $1 trillion in committed funds that we and our team here has geocoded. The blue dots that you'll see on your screen are World Bank projects. And then we've also worked with some of the regional development banks, like the green dots are the Asian Development Bank. The orange dots are the African Development Bank. And we've also partnered with individual countries like Ministries of Finance or Planning in Nepal or DRC or Senegal that you see here in yellow on this map. This is mostly just to give you a sense of the scale of what's now kind of in play and the partnerships that we've been able to build together with lots of actors in this space. In fact, the World Bank has now taken our process for geocoding and georeferencing their activities and taken it in-house and is using it on a regular basis to geocode their new and active projects. Now, together with this geolocated intervention data, of course, the natural thing is to ask, well, how can we merge this with powerful data on the outcomes that we care about, the kinds of changes that we want to see in people's lives? And many of you have probably seen this nighttime lights data. It's a good example of how remotely sensed data is now cheaper and much more easily accessible than ever before. In fact, up till about 6 or 7 years ago, this kind of nighttime lights data was cutting edge and in that sense also difficult to work with. But these days, it is very much an off-the-shelf kind of data set where you can pull it down pretty easily and immediately join it to the particular locations that you're thinking about working or planning, or in lots of our cases, the particular places where donors have already made investments and use this to see the impact of some of those investments. So if nighttime lights was, say, cutting edge maybe 6 or 7 years ago, what's cutting edge right now? Well, some of the satellites, in fact, that we use also, of course, take pictures during the daytime. And some of those daytime pictures are much more powerful in being able to tell specific outcomes. For example, the yields that particular crops are likely to provide. So here's data from Kenya on smallholder farms and the yields of maize that these farms are growing. Again, what we're doing is predicting the amount of maize that's likely to grow. Of course, we're doing this with data that we've already collected in the past from household surveys, but this lets us, of course, predict things into the future being later in a given season. So we might be able to tell early on in the season if there's likely to be a shortfall in the maize crops and activate some humanitarian responses early. Or it might be able to actually tell us years in advance what types of places are likely to experience falling or stagnating crop yields. So these are some of the newest kind of data sets that we're working on now. These are, of course, trained with machine learning algorithms to match the survey data that we have as closely as possible. It's just another example of the kind of data that we're working with.